In the meantime, EV maker Rivian shares are trading slightly higher this morning, up about 2% after an announcement they have agreed to adopt Tesla's charging standard. Ford and General Motors struck similar deals in recent weeks, securing access to Tesla's expansive North American charging network.
In this video, Rivian joins the party, better late than never. Guess they got permission from Big Daddy Jeff. Tesla stock continues where it left off, surging higher today. If things keep going this way, I might soon be able to move out of my mum's basement. Finally, and I'm sure the folks who panic sold Tesla stock near $100 per share definitely do not regret their decision. In unrelated matters, just posted an exclusive video to Patreon, how to stay broke forever. So if you'd like some tips on how to stay broke for the rest of your life or how to avoid being broke for the rest of your life, check it out. Link in the pinned comment. So Tesla stock today up over 5%, market cap now just over $850 billion. Year to date, up over 150%. I'm so glad I panic sold near $100 per share. Oh wait, I didn't. Yeah, no, that wasn't me. That was other people. Good job. If only I was that smart. But unfortunately, I don't quite qualify as a genius investor, so stupid me just kept buying instead of panic selling. If only I had a time machine to go back and do absolutely nothing different. I'd just like to quickly tally up the number of regrets I have as it relates to Tesla stock since I first began buying in early 2016. Let me think here. Kept buying with every spare cent. Never sold a single share. Total number of regrets, 0. Hope you can say the same.
Joining me now, Yahoo Finance's Pras Subramanian, who covers the auto industry for us. So Tesla keeps, racking up these partnerships. I'm still wrapping my head around what it all means. Investors, interestingly, seem to like this for Rivian.
Yeah, it's another domino has fallen in this whole sort of charging landscape here, where basically Tesla's NACS standard is now going to become, I think it's going to become the default standard for North America.
Who could have seen that coming? Definitely not me, and absolutely not Tesla, who literally named their charging standard the North American Charging Standard. It's almost as if they knew this would happen. Again, I do just want to emphasize, the longer it takes for other automotive companies to jump on board, the slower they're moving on everything that matters. Who will be the very last automotive manufacturer on the planet to adopt Tesla's charging standard? Let me know in the comments below. They'll probably be the first to file for bankruptcy.
We had GM signing on, you had Ford signing on, and now Rivian saying that in 2024 they'll be able to access the charging network. In addition to the fact that in 2025, newer vehicles are going to add a native Tesla port, the NACS port, in the car so they can go directly to the Tesla network without having to use an adapter. So that's a big deal. I think Rivian saw that they needed to hop on board in order to sell their vehicles to people that want to use that network. That's 12,000 superchargers. They're reliable, they're available. You got to hand it to Tesla there. They actually made a strong network, and everyone wants a piece of it. After Ford, ticked it off, they began that whole process. So here we are. I think that's a key driver here is that reliability and access to that network that everyone wants.
And so in the future, look at the side of my MacBook, right? And it has all these different size ports. Is that effectively what electric vehicles are going to be like, or will it be one port and various dongles that you have to adapters to get attach onto the thing?
It seems like it's not possible to have like multiple ports like you have in your computer on a car.
It's not enough space.
Not enough space. It's a lot of electrical sort of hardware. Yeah. Just have one, use adapters, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We have a trunk for that. But I think the bigger story for me is that the fact that the Tesla network is easier to use because you just plug it in and it knows your car. It has your billing information. You just plug it in. There's no app. There's no I got to type this stuff in. It's so clean. So I think that's also a big part is ease of use for their network is a big differentiator for people wanting to use it.
Interesting. Let's move to the legacy automakers on another issue. U.S. lawmakers are meeting with Ford and General Motors executives in Detroit today about the automakers' reliance on China, especially in the electric vehicle space, to get their parts that they need. Because the automakers don't want them to go to China. But do the automakers have a choice?
No, and it's 4 congressmen that are going up to Michigan to tell, Mary Barra and Jim Farley, can you guys stop using Chinese materials? And they're going to say, well, we have these massive targets we got to hit by 2025 and 2026. We don't have lithium capability here in the U.S. We need to get that from someplace else. We need to get certain parts from China as well. So we can't do much yet. It's changing. They're building a lot of factories now in the States, and you're seeing some lithium coming on board in the U.S., but not for a while. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. And if you're Ford, right, you signed that big deal with CATL to build a battery plant in Michigan that you're going to license the technology from CATL. You're going to own the plant. You're going to hire the workers. Everything else is run by Ford. So they're saying, hey, you know what? We got the technology. We can see how they make it. We have access to the actual their planning. So to them, this is a good thing. But for people like Marco Rubio and other senators and other congressmen, they don't want that partnership. They don't want that tie up here in the States. So that's kind of the
when is that plant going to be?
2025 or 2026.
It's going to take a while. To your point, it's not like it's happening tomorrow.
No,
okay.
no.
This is what happens when you're really late to the party. Now, for those who don't know, in case you missed it, the Inflation Reduction Act, Tesla's getting massive incentives for batteries produced in the United States. Long story, I won't get into the details, but the short version, Tesla's going to get a shit ton, to the tune of billions of dollars of free money from the US government due to their vision, courage, and foresight in localizing their battery supply chain. Other companies who are trying to catch up to Tesla are years behind getting the same piles of cash. I think this is what we call karma.
Let's turn to a note catching our attention today, and that's Deutsche wrapping up its Global Autos Conference and publishing some key takeaways on the state of the industry. The bottom line, automakers, they say, are optimistic, consumers not slowing down, and major automakers could even be primed to beat and raise next earnings season. Joining us today is Deutsche's lead auto analyst, Emmanuel Rosner. Emmanuel, great to have you. It does sound like the tone, you argue, is pretty optimistic.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Carl. So we had close to 50 automotive corporates last week at our conference, and the tone was optimistic across the board, but certainly from these traditional automakers, GM, Ford, Stellantis, essentially saying, look, the consumer is not, hasn't weakened. We're not seeing a weakening in autos demand. Prices have held up really, really strong. Incentive have only crept up a little bit. And so far, so good, essentially, right? Demand is there, pricing is there, and that should result into really solid profitability like we've seen so far. No real reason to be worried about, the second half. Now, it's clearly a positive surprise versus, I think, ingoing expectation. Most investors would expect prices to moderate, eventually, and I think the companies do as well. But it doesn't look like it is happening as we speak, which could indeed set up for probably pretty strong second quarter earnings from these guys, as well as potential, upside for the full year outlook.
That's pretty interesting. There had been some who argued that the EV strategy for both GM and Ford was just going to be too expensive, the adoption curve too shallow. They'd have to make some tough choices on the ICE business versus the EV business. It sounds like you think they were pretty stubborn in their commitment to going forward with it.
Certainly, we've seen a fairly decent amount of doubling down on ICE as well, right? I think we've seen many billions just announced over the last few weeks by General Motors for the future generation of pickups and SUVs on the combustion engine side. So
you did hear correctly. The government motors doubling down on the internal combustion engine, committing billions upon billions of dollars to producing the horse and carriage in mid-2023. Talk about electrifying the whole industry. These decisions are not going to age well. GM will have no one to blame but themselves. Of course, they'll just point the finger and go, it's not our fault. The experts thought that EV adoption was a lot slower than it turned out to be. Or how could we possibly have known that later this decade, consumers would need brain damage to still be buying ICE vehicles? No one could have seen that coming. Don't look at Tesla, ignore them because they did, but we learned matters.
I think they're managing their cash cow extremely well, but also aware that they need to invest in electrification. There's still a lot of investor concerns around the profitability of it. Both GM and Ford have had issues, getting them produced, really, but mostly doing that profitably. But their message is very much, we're at it, we're taking cost as fast as possible. And also, we're going to be pretty opportunistic. Look at these, partnerships announced over the last couple of weeks with Tesla to essentially enable their users to use the charging stations from Tesla. That's a way for GM and Ford. In a way, it's a bit of a capitulation. It's also a way for them to save on capex and reduce their own costs and boost adoption, of the EV technology among their customer base. So I think overall, the message from these automakers is very much, we're at it, we're committed, and we're having some traction. Certainly, they will need to execute against it.
But did you have Tesla at your conference? Because wasn't the concern that they just control the market when it comes to pricing and have been lowering prices repeatedly, which will ultimately hurt the profitability of their competitors because they have to follow.
Yeah. So we did have Tesla at the conference. They were not, presenting, but certainly hosted a lot of meetings with investors. I think that's exactly right. I think Tesla message is we will remain nimble on price. And essentially, this is one of the main levers that they have in order to keep boosting demand. And obviously, Tesla has very strong growth aspirations in terms of how many more vehicles they want to sell. In order to sell those in a potentially softening market, they would, be looking to lower prices, accordingly. Our view, though, has been that the direct competition to Tesla is not really the GM and Fords of this world. GM and Fords really make their money from pickups, from SUVs, from very large vehicles, which are extremely profitable. And that's going to be their strategy in the EV world as well. I think that's where Tesla is essentially cutting prices, is Model 3s, Model Ys. These are smaller sedans, smaller crossovers. There's no real direct competition or overlap, with GM and Ford. So
is he forgetting about the Cybertruck entering production second half of this year, competing directly with the money printers known as pickup trucks from Ford and GM? Or does he think, oh, looks like a doorstop, no one's going to buy that, nothing to see here? I've got to give credit to Ford. They're moving as fast as they can. They've already produced the first generation electric F-150. Next generation is currently in the works. The sooner they can get this to market, the better. But I tell you what, conventional pickup trucks are in big fucking trouble when Cybertruck deliveries begin. Many people don't see it yet, but please refer to my Cybertruckers Engineering Genius video from 2019. Time's ticking. I don't think anyone is truly appreciating how many consumers, once they see what this thing can do, understand the value proposition, the utility of Cybertruck, will actually want to buy one.
I would worry much more about, maybe, Japanese automakers, Korean automakers, Chinese automakers that are competing directly, with Tesla in the models where Tesla is cutting prices, rather than, the GM and Ford in terms of the direct Tesla impact from lowering prices. But certainly on Tesla itself, this is an absolute risk. I think further price cuts. I'm not sure to what extent the market is very much ready for it. The demand is there, the deliveries are there, but the risk of price cuts is certainly something we're very mindful of.
The risk of price cuts. Oh, yeah. You mean the risk that Tesla can continue to make their vehicles for less money and pass those cost savings on? It's in their master plan. The risk that Tesla does actually release their next generation vehicle, $25,000 electric vehicle, a compelling electric vehicle, one that they've already developed the manufacturing system, the new innovations to halve the cost. I wouldn't really consider this a risk. And Tesla's been telling us this is their plan now for more than a decade and a half. It's not a risk, it's inevitable. Now, maybe it's referring to the risk that investors might panic the next time Tesla passes on some cost savings, but this is par for the course. Tesla prices on average over time will continue to decline with no end in sight. This isn't in fact a risk. This is necessary for them to scale up to 20 plus million vehicles produced and sold per year. The big risk is if Tesla can't drive their costs down even further and pass those savings on. That is the big risk. The big risk is no further price cuts.
Time for FOMO. So we are naturally talking all things EVs. Wouldn't be a week on Next Gen if we didn't start things off here, because we are seeing some strength. Tesla's been a green mover all day long. Rivian's another one that's held on to a nice rally, up over 4% today, on the fact that they are partnering, of course, for Tesla's North American charging standard now, and giving Rivian access to that massive infrastructure that Tesla has been building out.
Yeah, this is just another important step, I think, for all involved in electric vehicles. Obviously, Tesla comes out the winner in many ways from a technological standpoint, because they kind of paved the way here, and they're not going to have to change anything. They're just going to continue doing things as they were. These other companies are now coming in and going to basically just, learn how to make that type of charging outlet, and basically giving credence to what Tesla's been doing. We've talked about this story several times, from Ford to GM to others. Rivian now the latest here. So this may go to show as well. Rivian becoming a little bit bigger player within this space, making that change. But only time will tell, obviously. These two stonks have been going in very much opposite directions.
Okay, was it just me or did he say stonks?
These two stonks have been going in very much opposite directions until today. Is Rivian been a struggling stock for the better part of the last year. Tesla doing its best to work its way back towards those all-time highs.
Yeah, right. I mean, really incomparable on a year-to-date basis. Rivian shares are down over 15% this year versus Tesla's near 120% rally on the year. Tesla, of course, being one of the best performers in the S&P 500 year-to-date. But definitely good news for Rivian. I think they definitely needed to see this lift, as this is only seen as an advancement that will further benefit them down the road, as these charging ports, they said, will be incorporated in their R1 vehicles, as well as their upcoming R2 software that is expected in 2025. Now, this deal will begin as early as 2024 between Tesla and, of course, Rivian. Rivian has also said that they're going to continue to then build out their infrastructure with this Tesla partnership in mind. Now, when looking at the way the street feels about Rivian, because it's really difficult to gauge a lot of these newcomer EVs, just given their volatility, it actually surprised me to see that of the 23 analysts covering this name, 14 do still lean bullish, 7 are neutral, and 2
currently have underperformed ratings, but no sells in Rivian as far as I could see. And the average price target among analysts is around $24, which would imply over 50% upside just from where we're currently trading. Canaccord today reiterating its buy rating with a $40 price target, which ties for a new street high. I mean, that is some serious optimism we're getting out of Canaccord today for a name that has been beaten down pretty substantially. It is up 3% this month. It is, up 30% off its low, but still down 63% from its 52-week high. And I don't even think that paints necessarily the grim picture we've seen in Rivian versus Tesla, like you said, attempting to break out to new highs. It's up 160% from its 52-week lows.
Just for the record, in order for Tesla to actually reach a new all-time high closing price, Tesla stock would need to surge a further 50%. It is inevitable at some point in the future this is going to happen, just a matter of when. By the way, still buying with every spare cent. Although, as I've mentioned in the past, I'm severely lacking in spare cents due to a rather large tax bill, but let's not go there. Point is, I do once again just want to put this on the record. Tesla still remains the best risk-adjusted opportunity in the stock market that I am personally aware of. Doesn't mean there aren't better opportunities, I just don't know about them. Just wait until autonomy has its ChatGPT moment.
And Tesla has been, I'd say, one of the top stories to watch all year long. Although I will say that every single day I pass a Rivian, it must be parked right around where we work, and they are so cool.
Yeah, and one thing I thought was quite interesting, though, as well, was Wall Street Journal reporting that they had some special sale just recently or about to have. And it kind of illustrates that they have now potentially extra inventory after being on, really, really long waiting lists. So kind of indicating if it's the case that maybe demand is starting to wane for this product, is highly sought after and hyped up as it was. But also in the market itself, Jenny, obviously we're talking about a $15 stock now in the case of Rivian. We've also seen this new kind of demand for kind of high beta growth companies. So Rivian sort of falling into that camp, I think, explains sort of why you've seen this recent rally in the stock, although the greater longer term trend, of course, has been to the downside.
Right, because Rivian to me is still such an entry level, a new player in this space. I mean, they had a massive recall earlier this year. That's not great. They've seen just some severe underperformance really in the rest of the EV space, which is also not great. It's actually sort of difficult to now pinpoint who Tesla's competitors are, because I wouldn't necessarily say it's a name like Rivian or some of these Chinese players like a NIO, and I wouldn't also necessarily say it's like a Ford or a GM. So
I can confirm, as of late June 2023, Tesla does not have any competition. Sure, there are other electric vehicles available for consumers to buy, but none of them offer close to the same value proposition. Same is also true of SpaceX. There are other companies capable of launching things to orbit, but none competing with SpaceX on the value proposition.
I completely agree with you. This to me seems like it only further boosts the Tesla story. But with a name like Rivian, we're sort of grasping for straws at this point, because this name needs good news, frankly.
If there's one word to describe the events of the last 24 hours, shocking. I mean, who on earth could possibly have seen Tesla stock surging 150+% year to date? It's impossible. I mean, if it were possible, you might see evidence of people who, while others were panic selling, were actually buying and telling everyone they were buying and pointing out that didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense and reasoning quite thoroughly as to why it didn't make a whole lot of sense, and maybe even mocking and ridiculing people who were panic selling at the time. But of course, that didn't happen, so it's not your fault if you're one of the people who panic sold. Don't worry. It's just bad luck. You're not a dumbass. And just like nobody could have seen Rivian adopting the Tesla charging standard, I mean, that wasn't inevitable either. And it's not inevitable that other companies are also going to jump on board one after the other until the entire automotive industry has adopted Tesla's charging standard or gone bankrupt. I am so shocked. In this crazy world, so many shocking surprises. You know what? Maybe it's possible that Tesla will soon solve autonomy. Wouldn't that be a shock? Of course, if that happens, no one could possibly have seen that coming either, so it won't be your fault if you miss out on that opportunity either. Athletic Greens AG1 has given me a massive, meaningful boost in energy, allowing me to do a lot more every day, including using my brain more and using my body more. I highly recommend you guys and girls check it out. Athletic Greens AG1 is an excellent way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's got 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus prebiotics and probiotics and digestive enzymes and adaptogens to help you deal with stress. Plus, if you click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, you can get yourself a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 and K2. But don't take my word for it. Here's what some of you guys and girls have to say. AG1 has changed my life. I was, as you described, treating myself like a circus, ate like trash, rarely exercised, used alcohol as a stress crutch, cannabis also. AG1 is what gave me the kick in the ass, got me back to the gym, motivated me to do more for myself, family, my business, etc. Keep doing what you do. Now, I know there's some skeptics, the same kind of people who think Elon Musk is a fraud, reading this going, what do you thought? There's no way that's possible, bro. It must be a placebo effect. Believe it or not, this is a recurring theme. If you give your body everything it needs to feel and perform its best, including having a lot more energy, you'll need ways to use that energy. For me personally, that includes more exercise, moving my body more social activity, and more cognitively demanding tasks, including producing a ton of exclusive content over on Twitter and on Patreon, plus my daily YouTube uploads. The proof's in the pudding. On to another testimonial from a viewer of this channel. SMR, you asked me to provide feedback on AG1. Here it is. It has helped with mental acuity, stamina, and intestinal waste management. Can't read between the lines. It certainly helps with regularity and digestion. That's what the digestive enzymes are for. It has also dramatically reduced my cravings for sugar. You guys need to stop eating sugar. It's fucking poison. I'm 50, 5'9", and overweight, aka a fat motherfucker. I think that's a technical term for overweight, isn't it? Is it fat motherfucker or obese? I can't remember. I average 100 hours a week in the West Texas oil fields as a safety supervisor. Jesus Christ, dude. No wonder you're struggling to keep your weight under control. 100 hours a week. Brutal. It has helped me lose weight. It is not an appetite suppressant. It can help fat people suppress cravings, and motivation to be healthier is critical for changing your diet. Love you, brother. Again, this is a great point. It's something people really don't seem to grasp. If you have more energy, everything becomes easier. It's like turning on easy mode for life. A few years ago, before I was taking AG1, my health was trash. I was struggling to get through the day, had afternoon fatigue. The last thing I wanted to do was either use my brain or move my body. Didn't have the energy. Now, my biggest struggle every day is figuring out ways to use that energy. I'm exercising way more, doing a lot more with my friends and family, and of course, my work output has increased substantially. And you can fact check me. Check out the average length of my videos I was posting to YouTube 3 years ago. Need I say more? And one final testimonial. Love this one. Okay, here's the deal for me with this AG1 shit. I'm 41 years old and not the type to eat, drink, smoke, or sleep healthy, so I was skeptical. That being said, here's what I experienced. Day 1, meh. Day 2, afternoon fatigue was about 45 minutes late. Day 3, 0 afternoon fatigue. Day 4, 0 afternoon fatigue plus extra energy. Day 5, again, 0 afternoon fatigue plus energy, wondering, what the fuck, really? See, this is the thing, right? The results for many people are just almost too good to be true. This is the same experience I had. My afternoon fatigue just vanished out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Why am I not tired in the afternoons anymore? Surely, it's not that AG1, is it? Turns out it was. Day 6 and 7, same thing. Day 8, same thing. Plus, I had the want to get things done around the house that I normally would slack off and not get done. Again, the point, extra energy, you'll need to use it, you'll find ways to use it. Day 9, 10, and 11, and today is day 12. I fucking love it. So however you managed to get me to buy it, I'm so glad you did. Thank you so much, SMR. It really changed me so far. Guys, this shit really works. Just try it. By the way, this is the reason I continue to relentlessly promote AG1. A lot of people get real fucking mad in the comments. Oh my God, Snake Oil Salmon's sold out. Oh my God, he's a scammer. This is fraud. But constantly, I'm pretty sure everyone making these comments is also currently short Tesla stock. I'm not particularly concerned about people having a negative perception, those folks suffering from small brain syndrome, still living in my bum's basement syndrome, etc., writing mean comments, claiming AG1's a scam or it doesn't work. I mean, bro, when I get feedback like this is what keeps me going. And remember, there is a 90-day money-back guarantee. There's nothing to lose here. Just try this stuff for a month, and if you don't get these results, get your money back. See, it's a literal no-brainer. It's an IQ test at this point in time. Testimonial after testimonial after testimonial like this. Get your money back if it doesn't work. Just try it for a month, and if it doesn't work, get your money back. Today's the day. It's finally time. Be like this guy who was a massive skeptic, but finally, after 1,000 promotions in a row, caved in, tried AG1, and has results like this. Head to drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link at the pinned comment, and please, let me know how you're feeling in a few weeks' time. Now, if you'll excuse me, time to put my extra energy to good use. I'll be recording some more exclusive content for Patreon and my Twitter subscribers. So click the links in the pinned comment. See you over on Twitter and or Patreon, and don't forget to grab your AG1. Love ya.